China and the US are trying to set ground rules for AI. This is actually a terrible idea. The Philippines is ready to stop China's expansion in disputed waters, which is a good idea. And Hong Kong is trying to get more tourists from mainland China, which is an idea? That and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Matt Gnezda, filling in today for Chris Chappell, who tried to replace himself with an AI, but this is all he got. And this episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, you should be using a VPN like Surfshark to cover your tracks and protect your identity. I'll tell you more at the end. So President Biden is moving ahead with tariffs on Chinese goods. Hey, maybe people will stop calling him Beijing Biden after this. I'm guessing not, but maybe. The administration is raising tariffs on $18 billion worth of Chinese-made products, including electric vehicles, batteries, semiconductors, and some kinds of steel and aluminum products. This comes in response to U.S. and other Western accusations about China flooding the global market with cheap goods. Considering how crappy they are, can we stop calling them goods and exclusively refer to any product coming out of China as turds? Beijing denies these accusations of flooding the market with their cheap turds. The Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the tariffs as an unfair move, even calling it a naked act of bullying. And some analysts fear it could ramp up a trade war. But Biden is walking a tightrope here, trying to balance protecting U.S. manufacturing with making clean energy more affordable. And I'm not worried because, as everyone knows, Biden is known for his excellent balance. Tesla is continuing its layoffs in China. Elon Musk was having some success in promoting his cars in China after months of groveling, but now Tesla is laying off both engineers and logistics workers at the company's Shanghai plant. Local rivals are ramping up production, so Musk felt it necessary to move towards cost reductions and better productivity. It's hard to compete with all those cheap Chinese EV turds. Musk blamed duplication of roles and job functions in certain areas for the layoffs. Now, to Elon Musk's credit, he is giving most of the laid-off workers a generous package that includes 3 months' pay and a bonus for every year they worked at Tesla. But if Elon Musk had been watching China Uncensored, he wouldn't have set up shop in China in the first place. Meanwhile, the US and China are holding talks on artificial intelligence. The talks are hosted in Geneva. They're set to open the door for both countries' representatives to discuss the dangers of AI and how to reduce them, which just makes me nervous because Xi Jinping learning about new dangers of AI is just going to give him new ideas. This is like teaching velociraptors to open doors. Beijing and Washington are competing in the AI industry, but they're also trying to cooperate to see if some ground rules can be laid around the world for the safe use of AI. Now, I'd like to point out, this is a trap. Every time the CCP agrees to ground rules, their actual plan is to tie up the U.S. by forcing it to follow its own rules, while the CCP quietly skirts the rules itself. This is a strategy. It's called legal warfare. The CCP has been doing this with the World Trade Organization for decades. Everyone is required to follow the rules on international trade, except the CCP doesn't actually follow them, and there's no good mechanism to do much about it. President Biden has reiterated that the U.S. will safeguard U.S. AI models like ChatGPT, and he wants assurances from China and Russia that they won't let AI control nuclear deployment. I mean, as long as they have assurances, I'm sure it'll go over. Just like when Xi Jinping assured 3 presidents that he'd stop the flow of fentanyl into the United States. And after the break, the No Limits partnership duo is at it again. Welcome back. Vladimir Putin is set to visit China. The trip will be Putin's first trip abroad since entering his 5th term in office. It comes just weeks after the U.S. passed a bill providing military aid for Ukraine and Taiwan. Just more proof that misery loves company. You see, Putin and Xi, the U.S. can make a few no-limits partnerships of its own. And I think the U.S. version of a bare chest is way more appealing than Putin's. That's America's chest right there. The Chinese and Russian dictators are set to sign a bunch of documents and deepen strategic cooperation, then attend a celebratory event commemorating 75 years of ties between China and Russia/the Soviet Union. which, given the history between the two countries, is a bit like a wedding for a couple that's already been divorced. It's hard to take your vows seriously this time. And 8 more Chinese cities are joining a solo travel plan for Hong Kong. In general, individuals from mainland China are not allowed to visit Hong Kong unless they're part of a tour group. But in 2003, an individual visit scheme was implemented that allowed mainland Chinese residents to apply for individual travel to Hong Kong. 51 cities have joined the program since then, and now there are 8 more, which could be a boon for Hong Kong's struggling economy. See, Hong Kong is trying to repair its economy and tourism following the pandemic lockdowns. And also because a lot of foreigners, including myself, don't want to go to Hong Kong anymore after the CCP took away everyone's freedoms there and turned it into a police state. At least mainland tourists still want to go to Hong Kong. I guess they don't have any freedoms left to lose. But it's not all rosy for Hong Kong's future. A court ruling has demanded Google block the protest song Glory to Hong Kong, at least on YouTube within Hong Kong. The court banned people from broadcasting, performing, printing, publishing, selling, distributing, disseminating, displaying, or reproducing the song with seditious intent. Okay, but can people still hum it? Because it's an absolute bop. A lower court last year rejected the injunction due to free speech concerns, but the Court of Appeal sided with the government and overturned that decision. YouTube replaced that song with a message telling viewers that the content is unavailable in their country due to a court order. Google is really taking advantage of "Don't Be Evil" being removed from its code of conduct, I see. Although you could still access the song in Hong Kong if you use a VPN. Australia is accusing the Chinese Communist Party of using video games and apps to spread propaganda. Why? What kind of stuff is China exporting here? Xi Jinping thought as a Mortal Kombat fatality. Nah, that would have been too creative. What they're actually doing is mining people's personal data to get information to allow them to spread propaganda more effectively, which is way more roundabout than just putting out games and apps that are full of propaganda. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute said in a report on May 2nd that the CCP's propaganda chiefs have created relationships with a wide range of tech companies to gain access to people's personal data, not just from apps like TikTok, but also from games like Genshin Impact. The report's lead author, Samantha Hoffman, said, "If China is trying to shape the way that the world perceives and understands truth and reality, then this data will help make those efforts more successful over time." They're trying to shape the world using video games? Great. Just what society needs. For reality to feel like a 12-year-old yelling slurs at you while playing Fortnite. Speaking of acting like 12-year-olds, the CCP continues to bully the Philippines. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. After 4 long years, a Chinese woman has been freed after being jailed for reporting on COVID in Wuhan. Someone being freed from jail in China? Now that is news. Citizen journalist Zhang Zhan, a former lawyer, was freed on Monday after being arrested in May of 2020 for, quote, picking quarrels and provoking trouble. That's a charge often used against activists. The only way that could be more vague would be if she were jailed on account of third-degree orneriness. She was one of the few independent Chinese reporters on the ground in Wuhan when the lockdown was put into place. Zhang reported on overcrowded hospitals during the pandemic and even made a statement on the lockdown in one video, saying, "They imprison us in the name of pandemic prevention and restrict our freedom. We must not talk to strangers. It's dangerous." Wait, the government's answer to COVID was stranger danger? I guess this is just more proof that the CCP is a bunch of 12-year-olds. There are still fears that Zhang may not be fully released and might have to go to a so-called soft prison camp after suffering poor health amid periodic hunger strikes in prison. In China, though, I'm pretty sure soft and prison camp don't belong in the same sentence. That'd be like calling an Iron Maiden cozy. Zhang's lawyer said that what the judge didn't like was that she collected those materials and put them on Twitter and received interviews from so-called enemy media. The enemy media being Radio Free Asia. I'm guessing this is because the CCP doesn't like the word free anywhere near Asia. Like the freedom to operate in international waters, where a Chinese fighter jet dropped flares dangerously close to an Australian helicopter. The incident occurred off the coast of South Korea. The Chinese jet dropped flares just 300 meters in front of and 60 meters above the Seahawk helicopter, forcing it to take evasive action. The CCP argued the flares were dropped because the Australian helicopter was spying on Chinese training activities, a claim which the Australian defense chief rejected. China accusing someone of spying? I haven't seen such a large projection involving fireballs without someone yelling, Hadouken! Speaking of declining relations, the Philippines Coast Guard is taking a hardline stance towards China. China has been harassing ships belonging to the Philippine Coast Guard and civilian fishermen in recent months. That harassment is getting more and more aggressive and heated. Well, as heated as you can be while being hosed down. Beijing was furious at the U.S. and its regional allies pledging to secure the Philippines and conducting joint naval drills in the South China Sea. Now the Philippines is making sure its Coast Guard maintains a presence in the South China Sea to prevent the CCP from pursuing a reclamation campaign in Sabina Shoal, known as Escoda by the Philippines. Although since China has no historical right to it, it's more of a claymation campaign, which sounds like claymation, but somehow even more unsettling. Sabina Shoal is an important rendezvous point for resupply missions to Filipino vessels. It's located in waters within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The Philippine Coast Guard discovered piles of dredged up coral and accused China of trying to build an artificial island, which Beijing predictably denied. Right, because China claiming international waters for itself and building reef-damaging artificial islands is just so hard to believe. What's next? You're going to tell me that Magneto bent some metal? Why, that doesn't sound at all like the thing he's exclusively known for. And Xi Jinping has just finished a tour of Europe. He signed dozens of agreements with France, Serbia, and Hungary as he aims to deepen Chinese economic ties. He wants the ties to be deeper than the zip ties on the wrists of the people they kidnap and bring to China. Notably, Xi sowed divisions between France and Germany by stoking Germany's reluctance to impose tariffs on Chinese electric cars. But I'm not worried. When has a horrible decision from Germans ever led to global calamity? Twice. But importantly, Xi has also increased his partnership with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Orban has been something of a troublemaker for more progressive EU leaders, and Beijing is only too happy to sow the seeds of division. Hungary is close to Russia, too, a major partner of China, and has received billions of dollars in investment from China. Hungary and China announced the construction of a major $2.1 billion railway that will bring Chinese-made turds into Europe in the latest BRI project, assuming they ever get there, since the railway will be made in China. And not to be outdone, Serbia's capital Belgrade has rolled out the red carpet for Xi as well. The railway going through Hungary is intended to link Budapest and Belgrade, which has also been a major recipient of Chinese funding and is open to the BRI. So it looks like Central Europe might finally be getting some decent infrastructure. Oh, wait. Xi's visit was also of symbolic importance, marking 25 years since the accidental U.S. bombing of China's embassy in Belgrade in the 1990s Balkan Wars. China has consistently supported Serbia's rejection of Kosovo independence, while Serbia has rejected Taiwanese independence. The two countries also approved a free trade agreement last year. I guess trade is the only thing they're comfortable allowing to be free. And with Germany and Serbia both rejecting the idea of decoupling from China, other parts of the EU might have to rely on the US for help on dealing with China for longer than it anticipated. It'll involve walking a fine line. Hopefully their balance is better than Biden's. Now I've got another video you'll definitely want to see, but first, this episode is sponsored by Surfshark. When you go online, everything you do is potentially compromised unless you're taking active steps to protect yourself. No matter where you live or where you go, you need to be protecting your internet activity by using a VPN like Surfshark. Hackers or governments might be watching you. So for me, unless I'm at home on secure Wi-Fi, I never log into anything without first turning on my Surfshark VPN. And the great thing about Surfshark is I have it on my phone, my computer, and a bunch of other devices, and I only need to pay for one account. And another cool thing, if you're in a place like Hong Kong, where you're geo-blocked from watching certain videos, like Glory to Hong Kong, just log into Surfshark, connect through a US server, and there you go. Glory to Hong Kong. So seriously, check out Surfshark. Go to surfshark.com/uncensored, and you'll get 4 months extra when you sign up. That's surfshark.com/uncensored, or use the code uncensored at checkout. The link is in the description below. And here's that video I want to show you. It's from our new gaming channel where we hide controversial takes on news and politics in gaming. You think Minecraft is fun? Well, did you know it's anti-science? Once again, I'm Matt Gnezda. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.